Boom. Hey, we're live. As always, I'm going to go share myself. How's everybody doing? So this is an impromptu little live stream we're going to do on the 10X Goals and Accountability Facebook page. I'm sharing myself right now. How do I do this? Impromptu little live stream we're going to do on the... That could have gotten weird, right? Echo. Okay, right, post, share it to a group. Okay, I'll share that on the Cardone On Demand and Cardone University users group. So that part is shared. And then how do I get this on my post? Okay, I think I just shared it. So, hey everybody, welcome. As I mentioned, we are impromptu Thursday night. The reason I'm in here is the grants office in Miami, they sent an email out last week, I think it was, with the top 3 reasons closers fail. And I thought, hey, now here's some stuff, especially on a Thursday night as we're going into the weekend, that we might all be able to benefit from a little bit and put some real attention on closing the deal. And as I was reading over the top 3 reasons, one of which, the first one, I'm going to touch on all 3 of them, but the first one really hit home, and I'll tell you a little story about it. But the way this opens up is check this out. Knowing what not to do is equally, if not more so important as knowing what to do, right? You want to make sure that you learn from all of your mistakes. And if you're having losses or a miss, especially in selling, especially when it comes to closing a deal, there was a very specific reason that it didn't happen. Grant will tell you, there's no one thing that'll blow a deal, but the dichotomy of that is that there's usually just one thing that blows the deal, right? So how do you balance those 2 things out? And so what's really important to understand or recognize is where a deal goes south, how you can fail at closing a deal, how you can totally screw that up. For those of you that are just joining, wave, drop a comment, just so I can say hi to you and give you a shout out while you're here. Love to get some feedback from you as we're going through this, especially as I deliver the top 3 reasons why. What's up, Ruben? Especially as I deliver the top 3 reasons why closers fail. You can start thinking about, all right, when have I done that? How have I done that? Am I doing it now? Did I do it today? Right? And then you can start literally thinking with, how do you leverage this to get better? Gina, Sandy, what's going on? Okay, so what I'm going to do is go over the top 3 reasons why a closer fails, but I'm also going to give you something to take with you, so a practical exercise to boot. If you want to actually get, in fact, in the comments, what I'll do is I'll post the whole thing down here so you can snag it. There it is. There's a link to it right there, so you can read along and play along if you want, okay? So, but let's just get into this deal, okay? There's rules to closing. And if you violate them, it's going to cost you the deal, or it could even cost you profit, or right, deal and or profit. So reason number 1 is you didn't attempt. You never tried. You never stepped up to the plate. You never swung the bat. If you don't ask, you don't get. Okay? So for those of you that with kids, they don't have this problem. But somewhere along the line, as adults, we stopped doing it. Most likely because the parental unit we were just referring to trained it out of us. So you're going to have to find a way to train it back in. And just as on a personal note, the analogy of baseball, the analogy of stepping up to the plate, the analogy of swinging it back, because if you don't swing, you cannot get a hit. So if you're looking to close more deals, then you need to ask for the business more. You need to get into a place to where you can close a deal. So when I was in the car business in 2003, this was a challenge for me, and a big one, and it was costing me big time. In fact, I almost got fired 3 months in a row. And I couldn't quite figure out how to ask people to do the things that I wanted to do to get them along the road to the sale, such as, hey, let's go take it for a drive. Or, hey, let me bring you inside and show you what it's going to take this car home. Or once I've presented numbers, sign right here. Okay, that was really, really hard for me. So I was talking to my dad about it. He's a marriage family therapist, and he says to me, well, what does it feel like when you get into the close or when you get into a closing situation? I said, I got to tell you, it reminds me when I was playing Little League. And when I was playing Little League, I was terrified of getting hit by that ball. Scared the crap out of me. So much so that I was afraid to swing. So I would stand there and I would compress my strike zone, and I didn't know what to do, right? And I would wait, and I would go down looking every time, or because I was compressing my strike zone, I would freak the pitcher out and he'd throw wild, and I'd wind up getting on base by a walk. That is just really not the way to, like, just bad. But I was too scared. And I didn't have a lot of training when I was playing baseball, or a lot of support. And so I took all of that, and when I got into the car business, it felt very similar. So my dad said, well, hey, why don't you just take yourself down to the batting cages and just start swinging again? Just get in the habit of swinging. And anything that comes out of that machine, try and hit it. Okay, that's cool. So I did. And so I started making it regular, like every day. After work, I'd go to the cages and I'd practice and I'd practice and I'd practice and I'd practice. I started knocking balls, and I got really good at swinging. And that's a very, very important thing. So you need to figure out some ways that you can practice swinging. So here's your practical exercise. If you see 100 people, how many of them do you attempt to close right now? If you got in front of 100 potential buyers, how many of them do you attempt to close? What excuses do you make up for not doing it? Don't go down looking. Okay, and what would happen if you couldn't use those excuses anymore? So remember, think about 100 people that you get in front of. Of those right now, how many of them are you attempting to close? The rest, what reasons are you giving yourself? Excuses. What excuses are you giving yourself for not? Okay, and then what would happen if you couldn't use those excuses anymore? What are you going to do? Okay. Now, if you have a hard time asking for stuff, if you have a hard time swinging, try and figure out where it was back in the day that you learned how to not do that, and you got to unwind that and reprogram. It's very simple. Me, I went to the batting cages. Huge help. David Perez, my man. How you doing? Good to see you. Okay. So the number one reason you fail as a closer is you don't even try. You don't take a shot. Okay. So start taking more shots, and then just eliminate the excuses you're coming up with for not taking the shot. Make sense? Okay. Number two, don't forget to do the exercise. Okay. Number two, pressure is perceived as a bad thing. Again, something most likely we've been taught that isn't necessarily true or correct. You may be operating on false data, that pressure is perceived as a bad thing. You've been taught that. You've been taught that maybe it's rude or it's not appropriate. So what we want to start doing right now is just erase that, because think about this for a second. There's the old adage about what makes a diamond. We know what that is. Okay, it's pressure. Okay. And a diamond is a very valuable object, but you as a human being, you're significantly more valuable than a diamond. And you are allowed to apply positive pressure in a situation. Why? If you're 100% sold on your product, on what you do, on your company, on you, then it's your duty to ask people to do it, and it's your duty to insist that they do it, because it's the right thing. Okay? And so the challenge is how do I, as a person, allow myself to push through their resistance and let them have their emotional thing as they go through their process of doing the right thing. And when you think about some of the right things that you've done in the past that you didn't want to do, there was pressure involved. Pressure from you, pressure from somebody else, right? I stopped smoking in 2002. There was a lot of pressure to not do that anymore. That came from people that I loved. That came from myself, right? So there's pressure, and pressure is a good thing. I don't know why it's perceived as a bad. So the practical exercise that I want you to do is to just write down when and where you learned that pressure was bad and why. But more importantly, who taught you that? And are you maybe operating from some false data that's not helping you, that's not serving you, or your customer for that matter? Because again, if you're 100% sold on it, if it's the right thing and you're the right person, then you should be able to apply a little bit of pressure and say, hey, do this. It's the right thing. Come on, let's figure it out. Let's work together. We can do this. okay? So that's okay. That's healthy pressure, right? Now, 3, the third one. These are all connected. The third one is this: unwillingness to deal with emotion. People are emotional. What does it have to do with you right now? People get emotional. Okay? If you're in a big city, I used to live in Los Angeles, California, the San Fernando Valley, in traffic, people are emotional. And then people request that you do things that are inappropriate. They say that verbally. They also use hand gestures to communicate that with you. They are emotional. But it has nothing to do with you. You just happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. And they are emotional for a certain situation because of the traffic. They're having a reaction. So most of us don't like to deal with that stuff, right? But they're coming up. Because again, it's kind of a stressful situation. It's the bigger the ticket, the item that you're selling, like if you're selling an automobile, if you're selling a house, if you're selling, I don't know, a 3-year sales training program, people are going to get emotional. So you have to be willing to deal with it. You have to roll with it. Right? The thing is can you stay what Grant calls emotionally flat when they're in it? Now, I'm not saying I'm any good at this because I get emotional too. So the challenge though is not to, right? Is to be able to be just you in your situation, right? And be willing to handle any emotional output from the client as they're going through their process of saying yes. Process. So the practical exercise that I want to give you is to find yourself a partner and practice handling them getting emotional. There's 2 things you have to practice. First, you got to handle you. Second, you got to handle them. But that's what Grant means when he talks about being in control. Okay? So let me just recap these top 3 and then I'm out. I didn't want to make this some long-winded thing. Top 3 reasons closers fail. Number 1, you don't ask. Number 2, pressure is perceived as a bad thing. Number 3, unwillingness to deal with emotions. Now, there are 7 more reasons why closers fail. Would you like to know what they are? Would it be helpful if I was able to give you access to the 7 reasons? And in addition to that, access to 350 30-second or less closes that you can use to warm up for any appointment or any deal you're about to go into, or debrief one, right? That way, if you're not winning, you're learning, right? What am I going to say, or what should I have said? Coulda, shoulda, woulda, right? 350 different ways to close a deal. Would it be helpful to have access to that? I mean, if you knew 5 ways to handle every objection you've ever heard, would you view the whole sales thing a little differently? Probably. Okay. So we have a tool that'll give you that. We have a tool that will let you figure out what the other 7 reasons are. In fact, there's even 20 different rules to closing. And if you know the rules, then you can certainly play and win the game better. So I've got some free access to this tool for you. Program's called Cardone University. Over 10,000 companies are using it right now. 45 million lessons delivered, so it gets used. Somebody's using it, right? And if you'd like to check it out for yourself or your company, shoot me a call, 310-777-0352. That's my office line, or you can shoot an email out, david@grantcardone.com. If you follow that link up there, or wherever it is, if you follow the link to the article, there's a place where you can sign up for free access as well if you don't even want to talk to anybody, right? So either way, we're happy to help. We're happy to serve. One of the bigger principles in our office is that, number 1, we're in a hurry to help people. Number 2, service is always senior to selling. So let us help you if you need it, okay? 818-427-5188. That's my cell. If you want to go there, just text me. Call my office, 310-777-0352. david@grantcardone.com, or just hit the link over here. Let's get you started. Let's get you the help you need so you can close more deals. Take this information and apply it to your weekend. Let me know how it helped. Thanks for watching. Have a great weekend.